Hello everyone. I am about to explain Paradise Lost by John Milton. And in this presentation, I am going to explain what is inside Book 1 of Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is considered to be one of the epic poems in English literature. Just as we Indians have Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are the two greatest epics in Sanskrit, in the same manner English language also have epics, and Paradise Lost is considered one of the greatest epic written in the English language. Paradise Lost was written by John Milton. The book 1 in book 1 he presents the argument of why is he writing Paradise Lost. He explains in the first line of the poem of man's first disobedience. So, this is the central theme of this poem, of this epic, to justify the ways of gods, to justify the ways of gods. This also he wants to explain. So, if we read the first lines or the starting lines, we get to know about the thematic context of what this poem is going to be about. When you start reading Paradise Lost, you will face difficulties because of its hard language. He uses various stories which are taken directly from Genesis. Genesis is a religious book of Christians, and you will find many different stories which are taken directly from Genesis, like Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden, Devil, Satan, and many of the conspirators are who joined hands with Satan and fought against God. So, I will give you a brief background about Genesis, about the fall of man. This will help you in understanding the Paradise Lost poem. In the beginning of creation, in Christianity, it is believed that God created Satan and all of his different fallen angels. Before fallen angels, they were angels. Satan is considered to be the first created angel. He, before becoming Satan, he was named as Lucifer. He was an angel. Now, what happened? Lucifer does not want to be under the control of God. And so, what he did, he rebelled against God. He fought against God, and as a punishment, God has eternally punished him to hell. That means he is he is punished, and what is the punishment? That he has to be in hell for eternity. Hell is a place where there is nothing beautiful, where there is heat everywhere, and hell is hell, and that is the reason why he is eternally damned. So, damned is the word which is used often when cursing. So, that is the real meaning of the word damned. Eternally damned means he is eternally damned that means there is no redemption for him. Okay, so what this Lucifer does is he fights with God, and as a punishment, he the God punishes the Satan and uh, all his officers who fought against God for eternal damnation in hell. So that is what happens after this incident. What God does is He creates human beings. The first two human beings, Adam and Eve. So these are called the first two human beings created by God, Adam and Eve. And He places this Adam and Eve in a garden, and this garden's name is called Garden of Eden. So there is a speciality about this Garden of Eden. It is not an ordinary garden. So the speciality of this Garden of Eden is that it has immensely beautiful and immensely sufficient food for anybody who lives in it. So there is no suffering, there is no hunger, poverty, illness, disease, anything. So this is like a heaven. The Garden of Eden is like a heaven. And the first two human beings in the Garden of Eden were Adam and Eve. So God has placed Adam and Eve so that the humanity can flourish inside the Garden of Eden. But there is a one condition the God the God places on Adam and Eve. So what is that one condition? The one condition is that there is this plant or tree called the tree of knowledge, and on this tree of knowledge there is a fruit of knowledge. There is one fruit which is present on this tree of knowledge. Whatever may happen, Adam and Eve is not supposed to go near the tree of knowledge and not eat the forbidden fruit. So this forbidden fruit which is present on the tree of knowledge is forbidden. They have to not eat it. So that is the only rule which God places on Adam and Eve. Okay, now what happens? So that is the general context of uh, the Genesis. So before you have to understand this previous thing which I have told you in order to understand what the book talks about now. So when we move to book 1, so the God has punished the Satan or the Lucifer, and he chains all these devils in hell. So in the opening passages, all these devils along with Satan are chained to the floor of the hell, and there is descriptions of hell like there is darkness visible, a clever use of words, a paradoxical use of words, darkness visible. You can imagine the amount of darkness, and there is no single light inside hell. There is tremendous heat, there is molten lava flowing, and these devils are all chained to the floor of hell. And now the Satan contemplates his fate. And what does he say? He has lost the war against God, and he does not want to remain defeated. He plans the revenge. He plans his revenge against God. So the first thing he does is he raises himself from the chains and goes to a plain ground. So that is the scene. And while he rises from the floor, breaking all his chains and going to a plain ground, going to a flat ground, all his devils along with him fly along with him and move to the flat ground. So that is what happens. There is a description of how the how that scene looks like. Now, there were so many devils along with Satan that if a person who was present in hell would have seen um, the picture of the devil flying along with his uh, the devils flying in hordes, so it looked like locusts flying on the plains of Egypt. So you can imagine how many devils are flying with Satan. So they were looking like locusts, they are looking like insects which are flying on a desert. So that was the scene. So there is immense many descriptions like this. So this is one among them. The imagery in Paradise Lost is pure literature, and that is the reason why this is very famous. And you have to realize and match this imagery. I will give you another example. There is when all the devils are chained to the floor of hell, there is another description of how it looked like. No, they were all like the dead leaves which are floating on the brook. The brook means a small stream of water. So they all looked like dead leaves floating on brooks, and that is the image, that is the picture. So like this there are so many images. And as this is an epic poem, Para- John Milton tried to use the language of the Greeks and the Greek epics. It is said, it is said that Paradise Lost is is the protagonist of Paradise Lost is Satan. He is the devil himself. How can this possible? How can be this possible? This is possible in the sense this can be possible when religion and order is being challenged by chaos and science, rationality. When this poem was by the time this poem was written, we could see that religious institutions and the religious order, which was the supreme thing in the society, was already being challenged by rationality and sciences. Scientific theories were being discovered, new Trade routes were being discovered, commerce activity was being flourishing, and many new technological advances were coming into picture. Many advances in astronomy were being taken place, and we also we have also seen in in the next century, in the 18th century, we also see the French Revolution, the killing of the aristocracy, the killing of the old order, the coming of the new order. That means the people are trying to revolt against the established order. The people are trying to revolt against religion. They don't want to follow the dogmatic religious practices of the old religious order, and that is the reason why they are revolting against it. Now you can apply the same thing with Satan also. Here the Satan is fighting for he is fighting for freedom, for for self determination, and for freedom from ruling authority. So we can say that Milton being is being is supporting Milton is supporting Satan in this poem, and Satan is the hero of this poem and not the villain, and that is the perspective of Milton. There is immense descriptions of how the Satan is the rhetoric of Satan. He is giving the speech that he does not want to be a servant in heaven. He wants to be a king in hell than to be a servant in heaven, and that is his attitude. That is his way of mindset. So there is this famous dialogue of his: better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, and that is what his attitude is like. That he does not want to serve in heaven. So he gathers all his you know many important officer devils like Beelzebub. There is Mammoth. There is Dagon, and all these monsters, and etc etc. So there are different types of monsters along with him, and here Milton tried to use all the references which you could find in Greek and all the Western civilizations. So he tried to include all the gods which were worshipped in Egypt, like Ibis and Iris. So these are the Egyptian gods. So he tried to bring them back. He tried to use those gods in his poem also, but he tried to portray them as monsters, as the supporters of devil. But this is a fictional poem, and that is the reason why it cannot be taken seriously, I believe, because these are the gods of Egypt, like Osiris, Isis, and Ibis. So these are over 5,000 years ago, and nobody knows what actually and what is the purpose of. We know that they were worshipped, but what is the role of their what is the role of them in the society? And nobody has a cut clear cut idea about what their role was. But here, what Milton is saying is the Satan is sending these monsters to earth so that to to change the mindset of the humans, to manipulate them and deceive them, so that they worship, they become idol worshippers. And so they are in turn worshipping the devil. So instead of worshipping the god, he is making them worshipping the devils. So that is the idea of Milton expressed through Satan. So that is the thing. And once all these devils are accumulated on a plane, and Satan is giving his rhetoric, so they create a palace called Pandemonium. So this palace is made out of hell. So by using all their powers, they create this huge palace called Pandemonium. And in this Pandemonium, it is like a parliament for devils. So they discuss how they must deceive the people and corrupt them. So this is where all their plans are executed. They are planned in this capital city called Pandemonium. So it is also called palace. Now this Pandemonium has become a famous word usage in our day-to-day life. Whenever we say that there was a pandemonium established, that literally means that hell was created because of the ruckus and fights. So that is the definition of pandemonium. So this Satan is telling that he is discussing the plans in this pandemonium. Now that we are defeated, we know what the power of God is. We know how powerful he is, and it is foolish to go on a second war with him. Now that we are defeated, we cannot immediately go to war with him. So we have to plan our next step very carefully. He is very powerful, and he was powerful enough to damn us all to hell. So he is explaining certain things with all his monsters like Mammoth, Beelzebub, and so many different types of monsters. So there is one monster called Dagon. He is half fish and half human. So, and while he is explaining this stuff, he discusses one important thing. See, whenever you are not match for your enemy, so what does general human nature do? If there is an elder brother and there is his sibling, obviously the smaller child cannot hit his elder brother. Now what he does, he will try to destroy the favorite object of the elder brother. So in this way he will create the most pain to his elder brother, or whoever it is. By destroying the favorite object of the elders, he will try to obtain the satisfaction that he will not get with a physical assault. So Satan cannot physically assault God. He is too powerful. So what he does is that he will corrupt his most favorite object, that is Adam and Eve. So when he that is the plan, so that if he if he becomes successful in corrupting the minds of Adam and Eve, God will be angry. He will be annoyed, and that his work, the Satan's work, will be done. So that is the plan. So in book 1. So this is what he explains. There are around 800 lines of poetry in book 1, and it is mostly written in enjambment, that is the meaning of the first line of the meaning of the lines is not contained within it. It expresses itself into the next line. So that is enjambment, and that is used. And there is little to no rhyme in his poetry, so he writes it in free verse. And there are many references to different types of places: ancient Greek, Roman, Latin, and different other things also. Like there is one line where it says that the wealth of the pandemonium, it was embedded with jewels. So in hell also there were jewels, and the wealth cannot equal to that which is found in the east. So as it was written in the 17th century, by that time the western civilization, or the westerners, Europe and America, has found out that there is immense wealth in India. So the sea route was very important, and that is the reason why he uses this expression of wealth in east. So the wealth of the pandemonium was even greater than the wealth of the east. So such kind of things, uh, which are famous then, are used inside this poem. And so that is pretty much what is present inside the book 1.